Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this Q&A session with EG7. We are very happy to be joined here by new acting CEO, Ji Ham. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we received a lot of questions to the investor relations inbox since we announced we were going to do this session today. We're going to get to those questions shortly. However, I want to start by asking you, Ji, a few questions about your background, if that's okay.
Yep, of course.
Good. So you're currently the CEO of Direkt Games, formerly Sony Online Entertainment, right? So which was acquired by EG7 earlier this year. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. Very glad to be part of the EG7 group. We joined the family in December of 2020, and I've been serving as the CEO of Direkt for the last 6 years.
Great. So I know there's been a lot of speculation to why this change at the helm occurred. So in your words, what's the reason for the CEO change at EG7?
Yeah, I think the primary reason is to note the fact that company has transformed quite a bit over the last couple of years. When you look at EG7 back in 2019, company was generating very little revenues and EBITDA at the time. Currently now we're on target to generate 1.6 billion of revenues for this year, as well as 400 million of EBITDA. So that complexity, growing this global business that EG7 has become, I think requires leadership that actually has experience across all parts of video game industry and the business, and that's what I bring to the table. So that's one of the reasons why the board decided that we should make this change now, along with the strategic shift that we are making, that we announced yesterday as well.
So why are you doing this change now?
Yep. I think there's never a good time for any type of leadership change, whether the company is doing well or not. But with that said, the board has been talking about improving and also adding to the capability of senior management at EG7 for some time, along with this complexity that the company now has to deal with as a global business. And along with the second quarter earnings announcement and also the change in shift of the strategy going forward, the board thought that this is the right time to make this change.
Got it. So will you have the time to run both Direkt Games, because you're going to continue as CEO there, and EG7?
Yep. The good news is Direkt business has been around for 22 years. Along with that, we have very, very talented senior management team already in place. So while I am providing a lot of sort of direction of what the company is doing, we have also decentralized at Direkt, where we have individual studio leadership that are handling all the game production, development, and also service. As well as operationally, we have very talented individuals currently running the company. So with that sort of in very good hands, I think being able to spend more time at EG7 level should not be a problem.
Okay. Will you continue to be based in the US or here?
Yes, this role that I'm undertaking for now is an acting CEO role. It's not a permanent role. So with that, not considering relocating to Stockholm currently. So we'll be based in San Diego, California for the time being.
Right. So before we jump into the questions which have been sent in, I want to address these two press releases that you posted on Tuesday. So if we go into the first one, then there's been an update to the strategic focus on the management level of EG7. What is that update and what's the rationale behind it? Yeah,
so the update really is, for the company to get back to what made it successful in the first place. So EG7's growth over the last couple of years has been primarily driven by acquisitions and investing in great teams and companies. And over the last number of months, I think company has sort of taken a different approach, and we're trying to get back to what made the company successful. So focusing heavily on strategic investments, whether that's in acquisitions or investments in products and pipeline. And also really focusing the group level company to work closer with the studio leadership and also business unit leadership versus more top-down management that ultimately doesn't get the best out of, I think, the businesses and partners that we brought on who are experts in their own field and their business and have vision and strategy in order to grow those businesses better than probably anyone else that we could put in front of them. So that's the goal, ultimately really refocusing and decentralizing and getting back to what the company has been very successful in.
Right. Those are very broad strokes. With this new strategy, do you want to get a little bit more specific, perhaps give some examples of how that will work in reality?
Yep. So, for example, I think, M&A, right? So M&A is what the company has been doing really well. Over the last number of months, we haven't announced anything. One of the focus that I think prior management team has been spending a lot of time on was this integration consolidation of the businesses that have been acquired. Good exercise, important exercise, but at the same time, in order for us to accelerate growth and be able to produce, shareholder value creation, we look at, sort of incremental gains from consolidation as being important, but not the primary value driver.
Right.
For us, given that EG7 is still a relatively small company, we built out a lot of the capabilities with the acquisitions we've made, but there are areas that we feel that there's gaps still that we want to fill out with additional investments going forward. And a couple areas that we want to invest in, one is pipeline. Yes, we have new products that we're making. We have great live service products, but we do need to also expand that pipeline of new products that we will be releasing beyond what we have currently today.
Right.
Additionally, I think when I talk about investments, it's not just about investing in new acquisitions, but investing heavily in the products that we already have. We have great live service products at Daybreak and also with Piranha and Big Blue Bubble. Well, they're great products, but in order for us to continue to maintain their performance and also improve it, we have to reinvest in those products as well. And being able to really focus those investments going forward, that's what we're trying to do.
Right. And you're also, besides you coming in as the new acting CEO, you're making some other management changes in the group, right?
Yep, that's correct. So, prior management team, once again, they had a vision about what they wanted to accomplish in terms of building up the capabilities up top at the parent company. But with the shift in the strategy of going more focused on M&A and investments in the business units themselves, we felt that the holding company or the group company level build-up is not necessary at this point. So along with that, we have transitioned a number of the senior management team at the group level to focus primarily on M&A, great financial reporting, investor relations, and also a management team that's going to be working closely with business unit leadership going forward.
Right. So as the new CEO coming in, where do you see the main areas of growth being able to occur?
There's multiple areas, I think, for EG7. Once again, yes, there's been a lot of consolidation over the last couple of years, but there's more to come in the video game industry. Along with that, I think EG7's in a really good position. It's small, but nonetheless, the deals that they've been able to strike, Daybreak joining, Innova joining, Piranha joining, Big Blue Bubble, et cetera, over the last 12 months, we feel that there's additional opportunities that we are already working on in terms of pipeline of deals that we're looking at to be able to bring onto the table to accelerate growth there. Additionally, like I noted earlier, investment's very important. Ultimately, we are a video game company that have to produce great products. We have great products currently, but in order to be able to exploit the IP, some amazing IP that we have, to be able to produce great return for all the shareholders, some medium-term goals are to invest in products like DCUO and also Lord of the Rings Online, to be able to remaster, to really reinvigorate with additional investment.
To double down on those already strong.
Exactly. So there's doubling down aspect to it for the medium term. That's very important. And additionally, look, bottom line is we have new products that we're currently developing. Some of them are shorter term, some of them are long term. One really large project that we're really excited about that we're investing, but that's 3 to 4 years out. But with that said, in order for a company like EG7 ultimately to be successful, we have to invest in new products, and that's what we're doing.
Right.
And
are those AAA kind of investments, or?
The big project that I'm talking about is AAA.
Yeah.
So we're super excited about it. We can't say a whole lot about it because of sort of the restrictions around sort of the licensed property, but nonetheless, I think we're very excited to be, developing this product. And in the near term, over the next 12 months, I think that's also very important to note. Once focusing on the M&A part of it, that's part of it. But the other thing is, Toadman Studio has been developing multiple products. Right. And there's a number of products there that we are excited about that we're seeking to release over the next 12 months or so, 12 to 18 months. And the idea is, Evo versus Evo, block and load to making great progress and being able to get those now really prepared with a go-to-market plan, publishing plan to release over the next 12 to 18 months. That's the goal. And that'll also show, I think, a track record of our ability to produce great games and ultimately fill out that pipeline going forward. Okay.
All right, so a lot to look forward to there then. If we go into the second press release, you mentioned, the second press release mentioned that there's been indicative guidance provided now for Q3 and Q4. Why are you providing that?
Yeah, I think there needs to be transparency, right, in terms of how the company is doing and how we expect the company to do. Company has not done a very good job of communicating previously. And one of the key steps that we're trying to undertake, the reason why I'm here today, and we'll be doing more of these going forward as well, is to communicate better with the investor base.
Right.
And in terms of what's been out there with the expectation of how the company should do versus where the company is currently performing, we had to make that clear. The reality is, I think some of the expectation numbers that are out there for 2021, they're just too high. So along with the second quarter earnings announcement, which we saw results come in below what the expectations were, we wanted to make clear with the investor group and investor base that third quarter, fourth quarter, company will perform well, but those expectations are no longer something that company will perform against. And with that said, when you look at the overall picture of where EG7 is, you take a step back and look at the numbers on their own merit.
Right.
We're on track to generate 1.6 billion of net revenues for 2021, along with the new guidance that we provided, and 400 million of EBITDA, which to me, and I think, once again, if you put aside the expectations that were out there, those are phenomenal numbers. And then especially when you compare it to how the company has performed the last couple of years. So 2020, our EBITDA was 12.6 million EBITDA, right? So 12.6 to 400 million, that's a huge leap. And we're very proud of that performance. Of course, are we disappointed that we're not meeting the expectations? Of course. But nonetheless, we do want to bring the investors back to focusing on the fundamentals of our business, which is it's doing really well. Financially, it's very sound. We have a lot of opportunities that we're focused on, and that we're getting back on track to be able to execute against those.
Right. So you can see this also with the background then that you're trying to build up more trust going forward in being transparent and actually telling investors what to expect.
Exactly.
Right. But this is a one-time thing, right? You're not going to be able to provide that kind of guidance going forward.
We thought it was a good time to do it now, especially given that confidence has been shaken. We completely acknowledge that. So I think being able to come out and provide the guidance now was what we wanted to do. As for whether we do this going forward or not, it's not something that we want to do it on a regular basis, but to the extent there are areas of big questions or areas where there's additional clarity that's being requested, we're willing to engage in that conversation. But as far as providing guidance on a regular basis, probably not.
Right. So there's a lot of talk. There's a lot we could talk about, but I want to get into some of the questions that have been sent in to us in advance of this interview as well.
Yep.
So if we look at, there's of course a lot of questions about the individual IPs, the games.
Yep.
In the medium term, say 12 to 24 months, what are the large updates to existing live services that you are looking at doing?
Yeah, I think when Daybreak joined EG7, one of the sort of key investment thesis was, hey, we have a great portfolio of existing games. Some of these games are quite old, but nonetheless, we have very loyal following, and they perform very, very stable, revenue-wise and profitability-wise. But a lot of these games, I would say, have been underinvested under Daybreak ownership alone. And part of the excitement with me joining and Daybreak joining EG7 was additional resources, both people-wise, talent-wise, as well as capital, to be able to put money back into some of the games that we have. So over the next 12 to 18 months, couple games that we're super excited about reinvesting, DC Universe Online, which is the biggest game that Daybreak currently operates, and also Lord of the Rings Online, because that's the only online Tolkien world that currently exists, and we're very proud of that product and the team that's obviously operating the game. Amazon's investing heavily into a new TV show. So along with that timing, along with additional sort of investment going into the brand itself, we thought it's very important that we also update the game to take advantage of Amazon's investment that's going in as we speak. So those are the two products that we're really excited about investing in the medium term over the next 12 to 18 months.
Questions here on in a few different areas, but if we go back to the numbers again, what is your confidence level of the guidance that you provided for Q3 and Q4?
Yeah, so what we didn't want to do is obviously have the same situation happen with the first quarter and second quarter earnings announcement, which is, hey, we have these expectations that are out there. and we're not being able to meet that. So the exercise that, as the new guy coming in, that I went through with the team was really take inventory of where we are as a business and be able to really have a very good confidence level of how we are performing and how we will perform over the next couple quarters. So third quarter, fourth quarter guidance numbers, I feel very comfortable with them. We could stand behind them. They're not meant to be low numbers so that we could just beat them. That's not what we're trying to accomplish here. What we're trying to do is, let's restore confidence. Let's provide good numbers of how we think we're going to perform, and we're going to perform according to those guidance. So we feel great about them. Once again, yes, they're below what the expectations have been, but now we're resetting, and this is what we can achieve with confidence.
Okay, fair enough. Another question then on the numbers. The guidance numbers show quarter-to-quarter revenue growth, but lower EBITDA margins. Why?
Yeah, so there's a number of reasons behind it. One of the reasons that's notable is that there's a shift in revenue mix. In the first half of the 2021, the reason why the company underperformed was partly due to some of the service businesses that were underperforming, because a lot of the products that they're trying to publish got pushed back. So good news is that those products that did get delayed will be coming out in the fourth quarter, but those service businesses tend to have way lower margin compared to a live service product like what Daybreak does and what Big Blue Bubble does. So that's one of the reasons why the margins averaging down a little bit. Additionally, we have additional marketing spend over the holiday season in the fourth quarter. That'll drive revenues, but at the same time, they'll compress margin to a certain extent as well. And thirdly, when you look at the curve for company's performance for, let's say, 2020 and 2021 both, it's interesting because our performance for live service games, 2021 is mirroring 2020 quite a bit, where we saw a huge spike in our sort of user base and revenues in the first half of 2020. Not just us, probably every single game company in the world. And then you saw that stabilize at a certain level in sort of second half of 2020. And then we saw another sort of big bump up in the first half of 2021. And now it's stabilizing again, normalizing at a lower level. Great numbers, great profitability. But when you look at the overall sort of a trend, you see higher spikes in revenues that are contributing to higher margins in the first half versus lower normalized levels in second half that is contributing to a lower margin as well. So it's really those three things that are combining to create that lower margin. But overall, when you look at the full year, 1.6 billion of net revenues, 400 million of EBITDA, you're looking at about 25% margin. Okay.
A more specific question here on the game then. How did MW5, is that MechWarrior 5, perform?
Yeah. Once again, I'm the new guy, so I'm getting up to speed, but based on my understanding, it performed better than expectations. Through initial release on Xbox and Steam at the end of May, through the end of the second quarter, they generated about 150,000 sort of unit sales. Good numbers, right? So, and the idea behind that investment was already had an existing game that's on Epic. Now we get to really see incremental profits by releasing it on Xbox, Steam, and also PlayStation, right? So PlayStation release is coming up. So we're looking forward to a similar result from there as well, as we experienced on Xbox and Steam. But overall, a nice outcome for Piranha and the group.
Okay. So a few questions came in about investor relations and communication. We've talked about that already. Yep. Basically, you can sum them all up with the company does not communicate enough. What are your thoughts on this?
I completely agree. I think company has done a poor job of really communicating, right? So it's something that we're trying to change, and this is one of the very first steps that we're doing. Some of the press releases that went out over the last week's another step. But we're going to be communicating a lot more. So concrete steps that we will take is we will have a dedicated personnel that we're going to bring in to focus on investor relations. Additionally, we have so many group companies that are doing many events, many significant content releases, etc. throughout the year, that other than from a studio level, that's not really getting surfaced up to company level. So we are going to coordinate better as well. So everyone within the group is comparing those, talking about what's coming up, looking at the calendar, and being able to really communicate significant events that are happening with some of the games and things that we're very proud of, that the investor base could also get a nice beat on. All right, company's doing really well. There's some significant events coming up, exciting content that are coming out. We want to make sure that those information is out there for everyone to see.
Got you. Some questions also came in about the investment rationale now, and with the new focus and the new guidance that you provided. Perhaps do you want to sum up what makes EG7 an attractive investment with this recent volatility in mind?
Yep. So I think key thing to note in all cases, I think because I used to work in the investment side. So if I were to take a step back, and I'm the new guy, right? Meaning I primarily focused on Daybreak, but now I get to see the full picture. But the reason why I was excited about EG7 back in the second half of last year, ultimately, selling the company to EG7, those reasons haven't changed. The industry as an overall sort of macro trend, video game industry continues to grow at a phenomenal pace. And there are many opportunities to obviously invest within this sort of industry. But EG7, when you look at the track record for the last couple of years, it's been phenomenal, right? You have a company that was generating 150 million SEK of revenues in 2019. And now we're at 1.6 for 2021. That's what we're targeting.
Right.
So that level of growth that the company has experienced, it's not common when you look at the industry as a whole. And I think if you were to give us credit for our ability to replicate that type of track record going forward, we can generate significant upside for not only the existing shareholders, but new ones as well. And additionally, I think the business model that EG7 has is very compelling. Daybreak, Big Blue Bubble, Piranha, all these are very much live service focused companies, and we have great IP. And I think in order to really evaluate a company's ultimate success within the video game industry, you have to really look at the underlying assets and be able to see that there's quality there. And additionally, when you look at, if you took a step back and sort of cut through all the noise, once again, performance is what ultimately matters. And performance is, 1.6 billion of net revenues and 400 million of EBITDA. That's a great performance. And additionally, the growth prospects that we have with the IP that we could exploit further, new products that we have in the pipeline, and track record of M&A deals that we've done and we can do more of, that all aggregates into something that we believe that could create significant value going forward.
Right. So we've been getting a lot of questions in which are hard for you to address about the stock price and different people selling and buying and so on. But perhaps you can summarize in your case in how a question that you can actually answer is what do you think EG7 should be valued at? I mean, what is the basis of the valuation that you think investors should look at?
Yep, I think you have to look at. You have to really build from the bottom. I think you have to really look at the layers of the assets the company has. And I think the very first thing that I would look at when I look at a video game company, whether it's EG7 or somebody else, looking at the value, is the underlying sort of assets, as I noted earlier, like what does the company have as a foundation? And the foundation for EG7 comes from the portfolio of great live service products that we have. Highly stable, highly recurring, great profitability, and that's not changing. That's still there. Yes, there's a lot of noise over what happened over the last couple of weeks, but putting that aside, if you really cut through the chase, you'll see that our fundamental performance at that level has not really changed. It's doing totally well. Additionally, you have service businesses that are world-class. You got Petrol, which is creme de la creme in terms of being able to really utilize that brand for not only marketing, but helping the companies that we have, products that we have to be able to leverage their capabilities and also revenues and profitability, which they continue to do really well. And Sold Out publishing organization, yes. Have they sort of had to delay some of the releases over the first half of the year? But that's what happened with every single publisher that's focused on console and retail. But they're catching up, right? So in the second half of the year, fourth quarter, we expect that a lot of the games that were delayed are coming out, and they'll be able to make up a lot of the ground they lost in the first half. So those are the fundamental financial performance in terms of how we're performing. And then I think on top of that is, all right, so video game company, well, you have to make new games. What do you have? Well, we got new games from Toadman that we feel very good about that should be coming out in 2022. Evil versus Evil, Block and Load 2, those are the two products that we're really excited about being able to bring to market in next year. And then a lot of the IP that we have, so yes, there's the cash flow and the cash flow multiple you could put on it, but you also have to look at the intangible value for the brands that we currently have. And Daybreak has some of the most compelling IPs in the world in video game industry. Original IPs like EverQuest, H1Z1, and PlanetSide 2, all three of which we want to invest more in. And then you have third-party IP that ranges from DC, Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons. And these are all world-class IP. That we currently have access to. Great relationship with them, and being able to do more with them is something that we're going to strive to do. So you build, I think, in my mind, value. All right, there's the foundational revenues and EBITDA that's very stable, value for that. Additionally, there's great service businesses that are contributing to additional profitability and revenues. And then you have IP and the new product pipeline that we currently have. That company internally we're very excited about. And we want to share more as we go forward and get the investors also very excited about those.
Well, great. Unfortunately, though, that's all the time we have today. I want to thank you, Ji-Han, for coming in today. And of course, I want to thank all of you who tuned in for this Q&A presentation. And I guess if people have more questions for you, they can email them into the Investor Relations inbox on your website, right? So with that said, thank you everyone again, and we'll see you next time.